What is Crackalack and everyone, this is Shornelzy coming back at you with the Persona 5X video, and today we're actually going to be looking at basically what element and like what character's best in said element. We will be peering ahead into the future for this one, so for all the other servers we're going to be taking that into consideration. I'll probably say who's the best for global and then who's the best for the Asian servers. That's probably how we're going to do it. But before we get into that, please do not forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe so we can keep growing the channel, and without further ado, let us get right into it. So we'll start with physical first. So funny things here, right? So there's not really much competition here. It's basically just who's in competition for the single target role, or assassin rather. Turbo's a buffer, so I don't feel like she really counts. I'm mainly talking about DPSs here, but I mean, if we're going strictly by who's actually the best here, it would be Turbo because she's a supporter, but I'm mainly thinking of taking this video in the way where it's gonna be mainly about DPS characters. And the funny part is, even on the other versions where Mesa has received like buffs and other stuff, there's a problem, right? Mesa is a limited character. You're never going to have an opportunity that we know of, at least right now, where you're going to be able to get him randomly by just losing your 50-50s. You can do that with Ryuji right here. Another thing, even if you take the 50-50 out of it and then you just go into the 165 pulls for each 110 banner, you could just get Ryuji from there. And, you know, it's kind of the case where, for somehow, some way, most of the stuff I've seen with Mesa is that his damage is just straight up lower than Ryuji's, which is kind of crazy, honestly. Even at A6, I want to say it's the case where Ryuji just straight up hits harder than Mesa, which is weird because you would think it'd be the other way around because it's a limited character versus a standard banner character, right? But that's just not how it is. I mean, I like Ryuji more than Mesa personally, but still kind of interesting. But if we're going strictly by who's actually the best based off of what they can do, we're going to go talk about Turbo because she's a supporter. That's pretty simple. Supporter slash buffer. Now, talking about gun, I mean, the only one who's technically a gun type would be the Soy, so that's kind of free. He's a Guardian though, so maybe he's not really a DPS per se. I don't really know too much about his kit. I haven't really peered that far ahead. He is pretty freaking recent though. Like, he's the newest character on the TW and CN servers, so not really one I have experience with. But I mean, he's the only option, so by default he just straight up wins. You could argue Haru could be in that spot as well, but her gun, when you're using it optimally, is going to be doing psychic damage, so that's not really the same thing. So I guess it's kind of hard to rate the fire one actually, because Makoto, I would say, is probably the best overall character here. Because, I mean, first off, he's a collab character, second off, he's Makoto freaking Yuki. They didn't really hold back on his kid, which is good. He should be the best here. He's also the newest character out of all this, but it's another thing you guys will see, he's the only single target character. So that he's kind of uncontested in his role on top of all that, at least for specifically fire, right? Even then, let's just see assassins, right? Single target, I still think it's either Makoto or Berry is like the best probably. Like, as good as Violet is, I don't think she hits quite the high numbers that Makoto or Berry do. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's between Makoto and Berry. Maybe you could have an argument for Yui as well, but I don't have as much knowledge with her as I do with the other two. So maybe, if anything, it's in contention for them three. Mitsuru is a sub DPS, so she's not really in the conversation, I fear. But it's just kind of crazy. Like, Makoto is really, really good, but on top of that, it's like he's uncontested in being a fire single target character. It's kind of a similar situation between Rin Lion Dance and Ando, is because they're both the same role, right? But it's kind of the case where unless you are going to pit, I guess it's a little different though, because whereas Ryuji and Mesa, Ryuji just straight up wins, right? Lion Dance Rin can actually start winning, but you have to put investment in her. I mean, this is considering investment for both of them, right? But higher awareness copies for Rin generally are going to do higher damage than Panther / On, but On is a standard character. You're gonna get her. You're gonna get copies of her. So it's just kind of the case where it's like, if you don't like Rin, you run On. If you don't like On, you run Rin. Like, Rin doesn't make On useless, which is a good and a bad thing, but it's also just kind of the case where if you have a highly invested On, that really doesn't mean you have to go for Rin unless you like her. So that's, I mean, there's not much else to say about that, but I mean, it's just kind of crazy how, like, yes, Rin is better with same equal investment, but it's kind of funny how close it can be sometimes. And then Makoto is just kind of far and away the best single target fire. Not that there even is another one in that role, you guys are seeing it right here. So there is that as well. Okay, so now we're talking about ice. So, single target. I mean, Mont, Frost, Gale kind of just wins here because it's a 5-star character versus a 4-star character. It's like Mont versus Mont. Again, Mitsuru is a sub DPS mainly for Makoto, so kind of doesn't leave her in an amazing spot for being a main DPS. That said, Frost Gale Mont is technically worse in her ice form than her wind form, I believe. Unless I have it flipped around. If I do, I apologize. And you know, I think I actually do have it flipped around. I think she might be better in ice form because she has teammates that are gonna be able to help her out. Because, I mean, I'll just take a peek at wind allies, right? She doesn't really have any, at least right now. Like, yeah, you could argue Winvest and Yukari, but like in terms of global, like you have Morgana, that's basically it. Floret is not really good enough to merit running in most cases. I mean, obviously, yeah, if you're not caring about meta, you could run them and you'll be just fine, but if we're talking explicitly about like wanting to run optimal teams, Mont is going to be better in Ice because of just the fact that she has actual teammates. Because also the cat isn't as good as he used to be either. He's kind of been a little washed compared to the other healers in the game. Anywho. Single target, I think Mont wins, but it's not really much of a competition. Again, it's like a sub DPS versus a main DPS. And then the sad thing is that it's between Yusuke and then Puppet, but Puppet is a newer character and I believe she's just straight up hits harder than him, like, to begin with, so that's another unfortunate thing. Again, not that meta matters much in P5X, but Puppet's just straight up better. Much as I love Yusuke, I don't know if we're going to be able to get him this time around. I might have to try and get him next time. Now that we have Mont, I do want to get him and Cherish. So we'll have to wait and see how that works out. Matoi's an honorable mention too. I think if I had to talk about explicitly the best character here, DPS wise, Sweeper, Puppet's the best. In terms of overall value, I'm leaning towards... Okay, so there's like two cases here, right? You either talk about Matoi as a debuffer, or you talk about Mitsuru as a sub DPS for Makoto. If you have Makoto, I think Mitsuru wins. But if you don't, I think Matoi wins pretty handily. It just kind of depends on the way you're building your account. I think most people are going to be pulling for Makoto when it comes out though, myself included. I do want to A6 him, not on the first banner because I just don't see how that's happening. But I want him nonetheless. Both of these are very useful though. Honestly, anyone in the ice role that's a 5-star isn't really going to do you wrong right now, especially on global. You'll be treated well. That said, I wouldn't recommend going for Cherish unless you already have Yusuke because they kind of feed into each other. So that's one thing to consider. Lightning. I mean, again, like... are we really going to make the comparison between Akihiko and Closer? Between who's better? No. No, we're not. Because if you do, what are you doing, man? It's like so far and away obvious who's the better one. It's a 5-star versus a 4-star. Let's be real, right? Let's be real. Overall usefulness, I mean, I gotta give it to Cord though. Overall, Cord's just insane, man. Especially once you start getting awarenesses on her. Especially A6, dude. I don't know if I'll be doing A6 on Cord just because it's a lot of investment, but like, dude, that if you want a freaking powerhouse of a character, you pull A6 cord. DPS wise, I'm taking Akihiko, but again, it's not really a conversation. And that's another reason why it's not a conversation is that Blitz and Akihiko feed into each other. So in the same way that Joker and Rin help each other out, it's like the same situation with Blitz and Akihiko. Both of them can fit on the same team. So that's something to consider. And then Yui's just kind of here. She's just here. You need a single target lightning, there you go. Good luck. Like I said, wind is kind of yikes. Very much so. Okay, honestly, it depends on what the next wind character could be, but I could see Frostgale Mont coming back into the spotlight at least a little bit if they make them work well with how Mont wants to play. I could see that happening. Is she going to be like triple S tier? I don't think so, but she could definitely come back in the spotlight. She's not as much of a character with her wind form, just sadly, just because, I mean, you guys are seeing this, right? Not really a lot of options. Yukari herself's really good. If I had to give it to anybody here, I mean, it kind of depends, right? It's basically the two on the left. It's Yukari or Winvast. Generally speaking, Winvast is going to be more universally helpful, and she's also just really good in her own right as well, so there is that. She's coming out right after Violet comes out, so definitely be saving your pulls for her if you do want a very solid, not solid, very good supporter. She's a buffer. And then Yukari is basically who you want to pick up if you have any of the Persona 3 characters. She's going to be your healer, and she's going to be able to boost up your C's members pretty nicely. So someone to consider. I don't know if we're going to be going for her, much as I like Yukari as a character, because oh boy, the freaking stretch of Persona 3 banners is it is brutal, man. It is very, very brutal. We'll see though. I would love to. Now, I just freaking, oh man, oh yeah. Now for Psychic. I mean, y'all see it, right? There's not a lot of characters in this spot. Summer Tomoko clears Tomoko, but I mean, they're not even, given the fact that they're not even the same role, Tomoko still clears Tomoko because 5-star versus 4-star, plus she does decent damage versus Tomoko, who doesn't really do anything of note. She needs buffs pretty badly. I don't know if they're gonna give it to her though, the 4-star one. Much as I don't like Riddle, she is a pretty good buffer. She's pretty good. I haven't used her yet. I need to build her as well, but I'm like hesitating because I just don't like the character. She's kind of annoying to me, and she won't leave me the hell alone. Leave me alone, child. Anyway. I mean, honestly, Psychic is kind of the most skippable element right now, I'd say. Well, maybe besides Wind. Wind is probably the most skippable element, but these two have use cases. Psychic, like, if you don't care about Haru, and you, like, let's say you hate Haru, you're not going to be pulling for her. You kind of just don't need anyone else in this at all. Because Tomoko feeds into what Haru wants to do, but also if you can run Haru without Tomoko, but she's way better with Tomoko, so same team situation again. If you like Tomoko, you can find other places for her, but her best possible spot would be with Haru right now. Get it for Nuke. Okay, I got news and I got bad news. So news, I mean, Makoto's a good character, right? She's very potent right now. It's very good. Once Yui's alt form comes out, she just gets pummeled into the floor. It's really sad, man, because Makoto's such a good character, man. Like, writing-wise and all the other business. Overall, she's just a really cool character. But Yui just freaking power keeps the freaking crap out of her, man. It sucks. It really sucks. That said, again, meta doesn't really matter that much in P5X if you're not climbing. If you're not climbing ladders, then just, you know, you like Makoto, go ahead. But do keep in mind that if you want to play optimally, you're gonna be using Yui because she's just straight up better, and that is really unfortunate, but that's kind of how it goes in these gacha games, unfortunately. I am curious to see who they decide to make like a Nuke AoE. I would be interested to see who they do for that. Overall usefulness though, I kind of gotta give it to Leon here. Yeah, he's a 4-star, but he's a very potent support buffer. He's very good. You're gonna find a lot of situations where you can use him in. He's very nice, very good. Vino and Makoto are also on the same team as well, so like these two were very good together. But overall, I gotta give like overall usefulness to Leon, and then DPS wise, it goes to Yui. I mean, you know, kinda just how it is. Dang, Holy got a lot more characters than I would have. Oh, never mind. I didn't freaking unmark Nuke. Okay, so Holy's actually one of the stronger elements in this game, right? At least right now. So you have Luce or Luce, however you say him. Oh, he's been Holy twice. That's interesting. Anyway, like Closer when she came out was pretty strong, pretty good. I still think Marion's probably the best healer, like actual healer. And there's the fact that Summer Marion can also be treated she's a buffer, but you can also treat her as a healer, so it's kind of like Marion was the best healer for a long time, and then she just gets power crept by herself. So, you know, is that really a bad thing? I don't really think so. Especially because Marion's a freaking 50-50 loss character. Like, dude, what the okay. It's really good. Luce is definitely better than Closer. Same situation as Makoto, I want to say, where Luce is just straight up better than Closer. I'm okay with that though, because I was looking at some Luce gameplay, and I'm not gonna lie, bro, I don't think I'm ever gonna be pulling for Summer Closer after seeing his gameplay. He looks freaking cool, man. He's probably the first male in P5X that's like a P5X original that I'm really excited to pull for. That's just a dude. I don't know anything about his story yet, but just like based off of the way his gameplay works, he looks fun, man. He low-key, I ain't gonna lie, he's one of those characters that kind of got aura in P5X, and I'm not gonna lie, P5X, like, no one has come even close to Joker, but like, he might, I think so far in terms of specifically gameplay, that man comes the closest. Overall usefulness though, I mean, I just gotta give it to Summer Marion, honestly. But then you can also talk about regular Marion, or Minami, whatever you want to call her. Marion Summer is just really freaking strong, and she can double as a healer. I don't know if she... something I'm not familiar with is I don't know if she's like the same amount of healing as baseline Marion, because she's not explicitly a healer character, but she can provide heals, so it's kind of like she can take your healer slot, I believe. So there's that to think about. You can do this thing with like use items, so that's kind of interesting. So yeah, consider that. DPS wise, I mean, AoE, it's gotta go to Luce. Single target, it's Violet. I mean, it's the way characters work, and if not every gacha game is like, if it's a single target, shocker, the single target is going to be good versus one boss, and then if it's multiple enemies, it's going to be the AoE character. It just kind of makes sense, right? So that's kind of hard to compare, but I mean, honestly, if you want to like get every freaking character in the holy role or holy element, like you're going to be doing quite well for yourself, actually. Funnily enough, we actually will be picking up all these characters besides Closer. I want an A6 Violet, 100%. But honestly, Holy's one of the better elements in this game, surprisingly. Maybe not with Yuki right here, but she had her use. I believe it was with Yusuke before Cherish came out, so she had her use for sure. Just not the best ever. She wasn't the best. But there's only like... I mean, every single one of these characters is like, has their own like use case though. That's another thing. All of them have their use cases. Anywho, like overall, I'm gonna give it to Summer Marion for being the best, but I mean, there's not really a bad character here, really. You're not like, in terms of the 5 stars at least, you're not gonna be doing yourself wrong by having any of these characters. Now, probably too, one of my favorite elements, if not my favorite element so far, is gonna be Curse, and I presume y'all saw the A6 Joker showcase. he was fighting a single target freaking boss, and he freaking outscaled the team that we brought beforehand. I forgot what team it was, but Joker outdid himself, and the freaking boss was resisting his curse damage for like half of the fight. Kind of nutty. So, as per usual, I'm gonna talk about the Rin and Joker combo. Very, very potent combo. If you can get Joker to go, I mean, like every DPS, you want them to go fourth in your rotation just so you can have as much time to prepare them as possible. Almost doubly so in Joker's case, because the lower he can get enemies on his first attack, the better he's going to be doing for you. Because he wants to get him below 60% health, and if you can have everyone contribute damage or whatever the heck you're going to do so that he can maybe do the damage himself to get below that threshold, it's just going to be really helpful. He's also one of the characters that, like, if you're gonna A6 him, you might as well, man. He's another case where he reruns so often, it's like there's no rush to get him to A6 if you do want to. I did it because, you know, we're playing a Persona 5 gacha game specifically, so if I'm gonna A6 anybody, I'm gonna A6 the previous main character. Also, I just think he's really good. He also does something unique with getting the extra turns, which I just think is really, really awesome. And then once we get to freaking talking about Barry, man, oh boy, she's another A6 I want to do. She's gonna be very, very, very strong for us. I just love Barry's design as well. She got a scythe, bro. Alright, man, now I'm tapping in. Now I'm interested. Now you got me. Curse is, like, overall really good, man. I mean, I don't really know about Sepia. I haven't really used him, but like these three are very good. Very, very good. You can find use cases for Joker and Rin in like a lot of places. Something really funny is I feel like a lot of enemies resist curse in this game. I don't know if it's because I'm just obsessed with using Joker right now. So every time I see someone resist curse, it sets off flags. I'm like, oh my gosh, why are you resisting curse? I wanted to bring Joker to this fight. I don't know if it's that, or if there's just a lot of enemies that resist curse, but I feel like there's a lot of enemies that want to resist him, and then I have Futaba, so it kind of just is the case where he's like, no, you're gonna take this, and then they take it. Last but not least, we're gonna talk about Almighty, and it's honestly, it's kind of impossible to compare these two. It really is. Akechi is a sub DPS, and he's honestly, like, I'm not gonna lie, he should have got a better kit. They should have done more for him, but they didn't. He's not really that good of a character. You can get him. This is how you know it's bad, is that he only becomes like pretty good once you have him A6. I don't know about you guys. That's 7 copies of a character to make him pretty good. That sounds really, really freaking horrible. So hopefully they buff the freaking crap out of him when he comes to global. I really hope they do this man right. If they don't do that, I hope they give him like a black mask form, and then they'll have that be a separate character at some point in the future. Then he can get his flowers like he should be having. But that said, I don't really give a crap. I'm gonna be going for A6 for him eventually anyway. We'll see what happens. If I can get a few copies during his initial run, I'm so down to do so. It really just depends on how the luck goes. But he's basically a sub DPS, and he's gonna be helping your main DPS out. And then Justine and Caroline, I mean, they basically have every role in the entire game. I will say they kind of want to have A1 more than any other character in this game, I believe, so far, because of how their kit works. Because you get to use their third skill pretty much instantly for free in your rotation, instead of having to specifically use it during a turn. It's kind of hard to explain. But pretty much getting them to A1 is very helpful for getting them to do what they want to do. But they basically have every single role in this game, but they are only optimal in, well, you are able to run them at their best with Awareness 1. Again, it's hard to explain, but you can pretty much run them as a slot into every single freaking team. You need a character to do a certain role. Okay, bring them. That said, I think it's better to have them as supports, or like not a main DPS role, so maybe not a sweeper, not a single target. character, but you could bring them anyway. Doubly so if you have them for A1. I think that's the thing. Once you have them at A1, you can pretty much slot them into any role, and it's like, it's chill. It's really fine. You just do whatever the hell you want, right? But A0, which is where we have them, it takes a little longer for them to get going, so maybe they won't be as good in the DPS role, so they're more recommended. At least I would recommend them more for the support role, or, you know, support, debuffer, buffer, whatever one you want to have them in that's not DPS, is what I would say. And then I almost forgot about it, but we need to talk about navigators. I mean, I guess this is pretty obvious. The best character here is Justin and Caroline, but they're not really comparable. They have so much usefulness to them, and it's really hard to, like, state their usefulness, because they just have so much available to them. It's really hard to knock them down a peg because they do so much. They're like they have a lot of stuff, and then you can slot them into every single team and they'll find their way just fine. And then you have Akechi, who's just like a middling sub DPS, which is really bad. I hope they change that. Anyway, back to navigators. So, unfortunately, I'm not gonna lie guys, every single 4-star navigator here is not really good anymore. You can find use cases for each of them, I'm sure. Specifically Wind is probably the best out of the 4 stars, but you know, Wind's also the newest one. Phoebe, honestly, she's good right now. She'll be good for a little while, just because we don't have Fuka yet. But you only really have 2 teams in this game. You could argue a third one with Astrolab, but that's not as explicitly a... what's the word? That's not as explicitly a problem as just having 2 teams. So, like, honestly, the 4-star navigators, like, if you're new, yeah, you'd use them, right? They're gonna do you well. But, like, in terms of being, like, good, you're not using Phoebe anymore. Like, and on China and Taiwan servers, you're not using Phoebe anymore, to my knowledge, because there's these other 3 are just way better. Fuka has some unique stuff to her. She can basically... I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I think Futaba's the third best now, but it's also the thing where it's like, if you're using the Persona 3 teams, Fuka's gonna be better for them. Also, if you have the combo of Makoto and Fuka and Mitsuru, that's a really good team to have. So, like, if you have that team specifically, Fuka's gonna be better for you than any of the other 2. And then Anj is just like... I believe she's the anniversary character, and she's a navigator, and you bring navigators to every single fight, because if you don't, what are you doing, right? So it just becomes the case where it's like, if you're not using the Persona 3 team, then Futaba is in the conversation as your second best. If you do have it, then Futaba falls out of line. That doesn't mean she's useless. It's just like, there's situations where Futaba just isn't as good as Fuka because of the synergies that their Persona 3 team has with Fuka. And then, you know, anniversary character with Anj, she's gonna be busted, let's be real. I haven't even said what she does on the channel yet, but we'll get there once it's there. We're waiting another, like, 6 months, I think. We're waiting another half a year for Anj to come out, so I don't feel the need to talk about her yet, but just know, if you are going to summon for a character, and if I have to shove freaking meta jewels down your throat to make you summon for a character, I'm gonna shove them down your throat to summon for Anj, because she's just that impactful. But again, we're not going to be seeing her for another 6 months, so honestly, at least for global, Futaba and Phoebe are going to be more than enough for you guys. And then another thing, Phoebe's going to be standard pool some point fairly soon, I think in the next 2 to 3 months. Don't quote me on that, but she is coming. That's another thing to consider. If you want to build her and use her before she's quote-unquote washed, I mean, it's, you know, just because the character's better doesn't mean the other character's worse, right? But if you want to use her, I would recommend getting her when she comes to the standard pool, and then just building her and getting your fun out of her there, because if you want to play optimally, and you're going to use the Persona 3 team, so C's, you're gonna get Fuka, let's be real. But until then, Futaba's gonna be your best, and then it'll be Anj is the best after that. I think it's everyone. I was kind of not gonna talk about navigators at first, but then it's kind of like I wanted to include everybody in this video, so that's kind of how we did it, because, you know, navigators don't really have an element, so kind of forgot about that. I think we'll talk about soon, we'll talk about who's best in each specific role, and then that'll be like a video that we have later. But that's for later. For now. Hope you guys enjoyed. Do not forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we will be making some more P5X stuff very, very soon. I will catch you all in the next video. Laters.